For months, people have been calling on the province to follow in BC's footsteps and implement a foreign buyers tax to help cool our hot housing market. Our No Fix Address series has explained the downside of such high real estate prices. Now, one of the city's most prolific developers is raising another concern about the economic unraveling he says a foreign buyers tax could create. Chris Glover is up on the roof for us tonight. And Chris, Brad Lamb is one of the first developers to weigh in on this controversial tax.
Yeah, one of the first developers to weigh in and possibly the most dramatic assessment of what the tax would do so far. Brad Lamb is saying that it could spark a national recession. His point is that Toronto's economy is depending upon the condo market, and if that was impacted, that could have impacts on the Toronto market. The Toronto market, of course, fuels the country, and he says that it would have wide-reaching implications. Here's a bit more from our interview.
For a lot of developers, they rely on foreign buyers for success in their project. And as a city, we want that. That's essential for the growth of the city. We want to be very careful about this. If we enact a 15% investor tax, they're gone. They're gone. They're not buying here.
I think that's the real confusion that I have with this argument, is that you have developers or real estate agents saying that foreign investors are such a small share of the market, 5%, and like you said, not an overwhelming share, but then it's going to have such a dramatic effect.
Well, because it's psychology. So if you're a 40-year-old couple living in Vancouver and you've saved money to buy a house and you read in the newspaper that there's a foreign buyer tax and some pundits are saying prices will fall as a result of it, what are you going to do? Are you going to jump in when you think prices are going to fall, or are you going to wait? You're going to wait. So it's not that foreign investors are causing the drop. It's locals reacting to the new law that causes the drop.
Chief economist at BMO, Doug Porter, says it is preposterous to think that a foreign buyers tax in Toronto would have that sort of impact. And he's not alone in fighting against what Brad Lamb has said here. We also spoke with a British Columbia professor who has been advocating for the tax coming to Toronto. He says that Lamb is just fear-mongering.
What is going on here is a desperate attempt to fight off a foreign buyers tax because they want the party to continue. So we're seeing kind of two different arguments. One is that it's marginal, but it's not important. And now we're seeing a different argument that, you know, it's crucial, and essentially if you touch it, then everything's going to go to crap. I mean, that's just a sign of an industry trying to defend itself.
Beata Caranci, the chief economist at TD Bank, also weighed in on this. She said that a foreign buyers tax has been successful in other international jurisdictions such as Hong Kong and Singapore at cooling the market but not killing the market. I put that past Brad Lamb as well, and he said that it was an unfair comparison because the Toronto market is so much different, and he also pointed out that prices in Toronto are already so much smaller.
All right, we can see from the condos behind you there, developers making a lot of money in this hot market. And Lamb also had some harsh criticism for City Hall.
Absolutely. That was probably the most pointed criticism that he leveled throughout that interview. He said that a building that should take him 4 years to build is taking him 7 in the city of Toronto, and he blamed Toronto's planners for doing that, for dragging their heels in approval processes, and he also said that they sometimes ask for extensions or just push off files. He says that this is all a part of his bigger criticism that Toronto is really in a supply crisis, not an issue with foreign buyers. He's not alone in that. That argument has had a lot of support from several organizations in the province saying that the bigger issue is a supply crisis. Well, Toronto's chief planner has been fighting against that. I want to show you a tweet from Jennifer Keesmaat, the chief planner, in which she was touting the 120,000 residential units that are currently under construction in Toronto.
And Chris, I also spoke to some developers and they leveled that same complaint. I had an interview earlier with Keesmaat, and she reacted to this, and she really objected to this criticism. Take a listen.
So you sort of can't suck and blow.
Yeah.
Are we growing too fast or are we growing too slow? Yeah. Well, we're building more housing units than the entire province of British Columbia in 1 year. So are we too slow? I don't buy it.
Yeah.
And to build on that argument, the city also sent us some more numbers and a graph that I'd like to show you as well. What we want to draw your attention to is what's happening starting in 2012, when you start seeing the trend of more housing units being approved in Toronto than actually started. From 2011 to 2015, the city says it works out to 20% more units being approved than started. And the province also weighed in on this, saying that if in fact that's true, that more buildings are being approved than are actually being built, they want to get to the bottom of that, and a review is currently underway. Dwight?
Conversation continues. Thank you, Chris. We've been following your lead throughout our No Fixed Address series, and we want to hear more of your stories. Send us an email, torontohousing@cbc.ca.